Welcome back, and joining us on the show now is Ajay Goyal. He's chairman, Pdts Promotion Society. Mr. Goyal, thank you so much for joining us. When it comes to wheat, there are various stories and various numbers floating around, and the reason to call you today is to get some clarity on all of this. First of all, your sense on the procurement. We are higher than last year in sense of what India procured, but lower than what India had set out a target as. So where do we stand right now, and do you still see these numbers rising?
So last year itself, we were really short of the target, and so are we this year. This year, the target was quite ambitious at 36 million, against which we have procured around 26 odd million. The real problem is that the government expectation of the crop seems to be higher than the ground reality. This year, again, it has been revised upward to beyond 112 million tons by a few points. But the situation on the ground doesn't seem like, we've had such a large crops in the last 2 years. And you can also make out in the year 2022, when government, estimating a much higher crop actually allowed exports. And then within a month or so, they had to ban exports because on the ground, the crop really didn't seem as large as they were projecting. So I think we are still again into a hand-to-mouth year this year.
Absolutely. Mr. Goyal, there was a Reuters story suggesting that India could open exports in this year after that ban that we saw in 2022. Do you see any possibility of that at all?
So imports seem imminent in this year, primarily because the government doesn't have sufficient stocks to, intervene in the markets at the right time. They are also just barely enough for their buffer and the various programs that they're running, and not enough for real market intervention. So I guess somewhere around August, September, if they find that, demand is far exceeding the supply that the market is offering, definitely the government will have to tweak its duty down from 40% to maybe zero. And it seems most likely with a new government in the center, there could be a shift in policy as far as wheat imports are concerned.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is that imports is what we will perhaps most definitely see happen by the month of June, as you said, once we have those numbers all clear in front of us. And exports is something that there is no possibility of in this year.
So there has only been a cry for Indian atta to be exported for the Indian diaspora globally. And that demand continues by the Indian populace living overseas. And there has been a lot of effort put into marketing Indian atta globally and establishing the supply chains and things like that. So the government has opened a small window wherein you can import and then export atta, which is not really the viable solution, as the Indians want Indian wheat ka atta globally. So I am hopeful that the government will reconsider the export ban on atta, at least in consumer packs.
Mr. Goyal, also, what's your sense on prices right now? Because, this is a debate that we are having even now as the street awaits the Kharif MSP. The MSP as a subject has been in conversation for some time. When you look at the wheat prices, what's your sense on where we stand and where are we headed as June comes and you see demand coming back even stronger?
So I think market prices are about 3-4% higher than the procurement price plus the costs, and they are moving in tandem with the procurement prices year after year. But the real stress comes in post harvest and post May, June, when the arrivals in the mandis stop, and then everybody starts looking towards the government if they are going to be releasing stocks in the market. So I would say the market could have been lower considering government MSP by about 3 to 4%. But that's the way the markets are. And currently the market is about 4-5% higher than government procurement prices.
Okay. Mr. Goyal, the other thing really is about the maths. I mean, if we go with the numbers that we have in hand right now, what's your sense with 17-18 million tons going for PDS? What is the sense that you get for our OMS? Because last year was a record number at more than 10 million tons, and then the closing stock itself. So how are you stacking those numbers there?
So I think primarily the government has replaced wheat with rice in a number of states, and at some point it will have to reconsider, especially in the northern heartland where wheat is more preferred over rice. And if the government wants to really rejig that and restore the old supply model, they will definitely fall short for OMSs. And actually, we are just at the edge of everything, we really have to struggle to, we don't have the sense of plenty right now in the marketplace or with the government, which is really the essence of, keeping the markets in control.
Oh, well, absolutely that. So there are those concerns continuing in case of wheat. But as you said, that month of May and June is going to be quite important. Once the arrival completely stop and we have a final figure in hand is what we'll know on what the new government perhaps will approach wheat as, which is an essential commodity. And as of now, we have 44% of import duty continuing in case of wheat. Mr. Goyal, as always, thank you so much for joining us. And with that, that's all the time that we have on Halftime Report. Business Lunch will take all the action forward.